Alright guys, so I'm very certain that if you've been on the internet, either on TikTok or on Instagram Reels in the last weeks, months, or even last couple of years, you would have definitely seen some videos of some individuals, maybe even including myself, eating raw meat. So eating like raw meat, raw chicken, even some rotten meat. And your initial thought was probably most likely, what the hell are they doing? Why are they doing something so dangerous and so stupid? And how are they still alive? And then maybe your second thought, if you are a little bit curious, a little bit open-minded, dare I say, a little bit intuitive, you would have thought, what are the actual benefits and how are these guys still living and how are these guys looking very healthy while they're doing it? So in this video, I'm going to explain exactly that, what benefits you actually do experience tangibly, noticeably, physically once you start eating raw meat, a raw animal-based diet, which includes raw meat, raw eggs, raw dairy, raw beef, raw chicken as well. But yeah, I want to preface this video is for educational purposes, and this is purely just basically documented from my own experience, and I'm just going to add in a bit of actual scientific mechanistic explanation to kind of make it a bit clear for you guys. But yeah, starting out with the first week. So you've just started chomping down on raw meat. The first thing that will actually happen to you is everyone will say that you're crazy and like, what the hell are you doing? And they'll look at you very, very funnily in your own home. But then in terms of like the actual noticeable benefits, what I always notice and what every single person who I've put onto this will notice right away, so this includes like all of my clients, friends, family members, everyone inside of my community who started eating and living this way, is you'll always be surprised with how effortlessly the food digests. So basically it feels as if it assimilates perfectly into your body, and there's like minimal bloating, no bloating at all, no heavy digestion, no indigestion, and the food feels like very, very compatible with our bodies. And this is the common experience. The actual explanation behind this is due to two reasons. So reason number one is bacterial digestion and bacterial predigestion. So obviously with the raw foods, you are going to be getting all of the raw bacteria that come along with the foods, and they actually happen to break down the food in a way such that our body has less digestive efforts, or like it needs to exert itself far less to actually process all the nutrients and extract the nutrients out. So that's one, the bacterial digestion. And then two is the enzymatic digestion. So the actual scientific name is called autolysis. So this is the process by which the raw food material digests itself of its own pre-existing enzymes. So all the enzymes that already exist in the animal cells, when those cells come into contact with the ions, the acidic pH, just like the moisture in general of our digestive tract, these internal enzymes are released and the food self-digests. Basically what's going on is our bodies basically don't have to exert themselves anywhere near as much as they would have to with cooked food or some processed food as they would with the raw meat. And this can lead to a whole host of other benefits in that, you know, you're gonna have more energy, you can have deeper, better sleep because your sleep won't be disturbed by digestion, and you experience far less symptoms of like any digestive issues such as IBS or leaky gut, you know, anything like that, purely because the raw meat is highly, highly compatible. It digests of its own enzymes and its own bacteria, and then it's also non-inflammatory to the body, so our body can process it very easily, and it's a very low histamine food. So that's the first benefit you'll notice. The second benefit, which I touched on a little bit, is like the stable energy that you'll get as a result of the raw food. So one of the reasons you have stable energy and like a clearer mind in general, less brain fog, more focus for whatever work or schooling you're doing, is because one, more effortless digestion. So your digestion requires less strain from the body, which is essentially inevitably drawing away less energy and less of that biological bandwidth from your mind and from your focus. But then secondly is that when you switch over to raw animal foods, you are now going to be primarily running off of dietary raw fat, so saturated animal fat, as opposed to other sugars or like polyunsaturated fatty acids. So these are going to be much more stable in terms of digestion, but they're going to give you much more stable energy, because in terms of energy density, a fat molecule, a saturated animal fat molecule, has a far greater amount of electrons per calorie than a sugar molecule or a glucose molecule, for example. And this basically just means that already you're not going to be doing much digestive effort, but in terms of like eating, digesting, chewing food, you're going to get far more bang for your buck in that sense. So it will be a higher electron yield, which will essentially result in greater mitochondrial redox. So as you guys probably know from high school, mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell, is going to be able to operate more efficiently because it runs off of electrons when you're running off of diet primarily based on raw animal fats. So that's one of the things. Another benefit that you will see, very interestingly, will be a big increase in libido. So this is something that I definitely notice. I mean, you say like in terms of, to be candid, like morning wood or like nighttime erections, but even like I've had clients who like they've told me after they've started eating like some raw sashimi and like started adding in some organ meats that they've had like a wet dream the following day. And this is a very common experience, especially among like people coming from a very poor baseline diet or like people coming from a vegan diet. They basically, once they actually start getting all of like the saturated animal fats, which is the building block, like the cholesterol is the building block for all of your hormones and all of like the fat soluble vitamins that come with that, you can then actually signal to your body that you have enough nutritional material to reproduce, to actually be fertile. So yeah, that's just something that will come along with it. Aside from like the fertility benefits, you are going to be like more potent in terms of testosterone. So your hormones will begin to go on the rise. You know, obviously this is only the first week, but you will start to notice bits and pieces of that. And then, I mean, the other benefit that I already did touch on a little bit will be sleep. Because of like the ease digestion, you'll fall asleep quicker, even if you eat late, and you'll wake up a lot more restored. So that's always a plus. Also, because the raw foods contain like their own natural structured water content, compared to like drinking tap water, which actually dehydrates you, you're going to be getting all your water from like actual bioavailable water sources, structured water sources, like deuterium depleted water sources. So the raw meat, the raw milk, the raw organs, even some blood if you can get your hands on it. So you're going to be a lot more hydrated, and that will show in terms of your hydration playing sport, for example, or even like the lubrication and hydration of your skin. It will start to show. All these benefits that will continue on to month 1 to 3. The first thing that you will notice in this 1 to 3 month mark is you'll start to notice detoxification occurring. So this is what, I'll be honest, people are like worried about, because they see raw foods and they associate symptoms of detox with food poisoning. Food poisoning literally only occurs when you're ingesting poison. So food that comes from like low quality feed, vaccinated, medicated, antibiotic, like ridden, covered, infested meat, not actually a clean organic source. But when you're still eating clean, organic, high quality raw foods, you are going to get to a point around the 1 to 3 month mark where your body has enough bacterial and nutritional reserves, raw fat being the primary most important nutrient, to actually begin detoxification. So the means by which we're going to detox through the bacteria will be bioremediation. So the bacteria basically will act as janitors. So think of the salmonella, the E. coli, all of these things that we're told to fear. They will only be breaking down the dead, decaying toxins and toxic cells in our bodies that we otherwise wouldn't be able to get rid of. So this is a bit of a temporary 1 step backwards, 2 steps forwards. You may experience a day or two, some runny stool, maybe like a mild, light headache, or any like flu-like symptoms, or some mild sinusitis, which is a detox of the nasal passage. But these are always short-lived, and this, for this reason, is why I always recommend you guys start out with the raw foods, actually knowing what you're doing, or at the very least having someone there to guide you through it so you don't make any mistakes, you actually ease into it in the right way, such that when you get to this detox period, which is, for some of you, if you're very healthy and weren't vaccinated, you're not going to need so much detox. But for those of you who are living in the modern world like myself, it will be a necessary cleaning out. I just want you guys to be prepared and to like have the correct nutrients, the correct diet, the correct foods to support that all the way. So, watch this channel, I guess, join the community. That's something that will help. The next thing that you'll notice will be, as I touched on, but this is even more, your skin clarity and your UV resilience. So those of you that don't know, our skin essentially is made up of fatty acids. We have a lipid layer, a lipid matrix in our skin that is made up of purely fat. And that fat obviously is going to come from somewhere. It comes from our diet. So if our diet is based off of seed oils or like these polyunsaturated fatty acids, these PUFAs from like low quality fat sources, we are going to be prone to oxidation in the skin. Basically, if we're on a low quality fat diet, the lipid layer, the lipid matrix in our skin will be prone to lipid peroxidation. So say, for example, in the sun, you've got seed oils all in your skin. The sun will then come down and basically cause these fat molecules to break down and oxidize, which will lead to inflammation, which will lead to accelerated speeds of aging. So you'll get wrinkles, you'll get older, uglier, all of these things. This doesn't happen when you have a diet full of healthy, raw, saturated animal fats. So the sort of fats that you'll be getting on the raw animal-based diet. On top of that, when your skin actually becomes made out of these fats, it becomes a lot fuller, a lot clearer, a lot healthier, more vibrant looking, maybe even more youthful looking, I'll say, versus when you're on like a really deficient, shitty polyunsaturated fatty acid diet. So yeah, the benefit is you look better, but then also you can now begin to utilize confidently the free ball of energy that is sunlight, and you can tolerate that quite well. Another benefit that you'll experience in this 1 to 3 month mark is your nervous system will start to stabilize. So now that you're getting like enough nutrients, enough micronutrients, macronutrients, enough of like the microbes, basically the bacteria, the enzymes even, to correctly operate your body, which most people, almost all people, are exceptionally deficient in, your nervous system will begin to rebuild itself, detox, and stabilize. So you'll notice that your mood will mellow out. A lot of like the chronic anxiety that you may have had and you may have been struggling with day to day that you couldn't actually put your finger on the root cause will fade. And as a person, you'll begin to just become a lot more calm. You'll have a much more stable temperament that I think your friends and family will all really appreciate. Also, just more generally, aside from like the skin benefits in that 1 to 3 month mark, your hair will get healthier. Your eyes may even begin to start to like brighten and lighten, and you'll just look like you have a lot more life force in you, because like you literally do. So yeah, it's all going to be like really great things by this point. And then in year 1, the skin, the hair, the eyes can only get clearer, healthier, brighter, because this is obviously all going to be a thing of like cell turnover. It's going to take so many months for basically your body to entirely replace itself and reconstruct itself out of better materials. So it's around this 1 year mark that you can really expect like quite profound changes. Partly also because detox will continue. So for those of you that are struggling with acne, that is a detoxification of the lymphatic system and of the skin. So when you get on a diet like this that is low in toxins and supports detox, all of those things will fade. Any dandruff, any hair loss, all of these things will begin to like remedy themselves. And then in terms of like the hormonal health and the nervous system health, you will become naturally by this 1 year mark a lot more ambitious, because now biochemically, in terms of your hormonal composition, your testosterone as a man is a lot higher. You now have a lot more of a drive that I guess you're waking up with in the morning every single day, that you need to then transmute into something productive in your day. So this is definitely something I noticed. Like before, I was, bed rotting a lot, playing a lot of video games, a bit more unambitious with my life. But in the last 5 years of doing all of this stuff, it's really given me a lot of energy and aspiration in life, and creative energy, I'll even call it, that now I'm just going out and like fulfilling, whether it be through like these videos or just like creating in everyday life in general. And then yeah, now moving on to the 10 year mark. I'm only the 5 year mark, so I'm like not even fully there myself. I couldn't even expect the fullest extent of the benefits I'll get. Maybe my eyes will fully turn blue. I'm not sure. But by the 10 year mark, it's safe to say that like you are fully convicted in this way of living. Like truly your taste buds have adapted and have adjusted to like all of the flavors of the raw food diet. Like you now know this is what you crave. I mean, by the 5 year mark, you'll know all of these things as well. But 10 year mark, you're going to be fully committed. You likely will have put this on to family and friends as well, and inevitably change their lives too, which is an awesome thing. You likely will have found a great community of like-minded people who share these same values and beliefs, and you will have created this great life centered around health for yourself, and you're going to be thriving as a result of it. In terms of like the actual tangible benefits, honestly, really importantly, when you are on this diet, you are going to be aging a lot slower. So because you're going to be essentially building your body out of these high quality materials, so think of the raw saturated animal fats versus like the polyunsaturated fatty acids, you're not going to be oxidizing and breaking down as other people will be. So like this whole conception of like what someone should look like at a certain age is based off of modern day people eating modern day diets. So you can expect to look quite a bit younger, quite a bit more youthful, quite a bit more healthy than like your peers around the same age, purely because of the diet, purely because you will be breaking down and like lasting, sustaining and regenerating your body far more effectively and efficiently. I mean, one of the exact like actual scientific mechanisms and reasons why is like when you have a diet full of cooked foods and like running off of carbohydrates, you are going to have like a lot of advanced glycation end products, which literally they're AGEs, they do age you. This is what everyone has to deal with and manage inside their cells, versus us on the raw animal-based diet. We don't really struggle with so many like toxic metabolic waste products. So it really is a easier way to live. And then I mean, the final point that you'll get to by the 10 year mark is that you will have more or less detox most of like the toxins you had in your body before starting out. So because your body is now going to be excellent at bioremediating, your lymphatic system will be mobilized, all of these things, and you'll be just constantly churning out any toxins that happen to come into your body. You will have removed any heavy metals from your brain, cured your autism, this, that, and the other. You're now going to be in like a very healthy place. If you're a guy or a girl, ideally, you know, both partners in the relationship having kids will want to be healthy and detox, but you're going to be in a great place to have kids because you won't have any like medication or toxin residues lingering in and around your reproductive organs that could potentially cause like adverse birth defects that we see like, you know, everywhere in the world. So it's not like you're leaving anything to chance, because when you get rid of the microplastics in your balls, when you get rid of the antibiotic like residues in your gut, you basically can be very confident that when you're creating a child, and when, say, you're even the woman and you're developing the child in your womb, they won't be exposed to any like massive hormonal disrupting chemicals. So that's, I'd say, probably even the biggest benefit, is that like you now be confident that your kid won't have Down syndrome. But yeah, anyway, guys, that is all of the benefits you can come to expect over the course of starting the raw meat diet. I'm sure there are lots of other ones that you would also see depending on like where you're kind of starting out, like what issues you're struggling with. You know, if you have arthritis, your joint pain will kind of alleviate itself. If you have bad acne, that will go away. If you're short and you're starting at a young enough age and you really dial in your health, you're going to go taller. All of these things, yeah, you really expect some great things. I'd love to see you guys all thrive eating and living this way. And if you do want help from myself and you want like a bit of guidance and you do want a community of like-minded people to go on this journey with, then I'd absolutely recommend and ask you guys to check out the link to my school community, which is in this video. But yeah, otherwise, like the video, subscribe, and keep eating raw meat.